Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my workshop. This week we are talking about how to start a garden using things you may already have in your house. We talked about where to look for things. We talked about how to prep those things. And then today we are going to talk about how to plant or pot up some of those things that you have prepped using things that you can scavenge from your kitchen. And also, I'll show you how to plant them, what you can plant in, and when to know when it's time to go up to a bigger container or to go outside. If we have not met yet, my name is Quincey Adams, and I want to help you grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. Okay, so the things that I've scavenged, I broke them down roughly into categories of what the materials are made out of. So first is glass, any kind of glass jar that comes into your house. Clearly this was pickles. Oops, it's upside down. You can see that, glass jars. As I mentioned before, there's two different main sizes of glass jars that this company uses, and the same lid fits on both sizes. So 24 ounce and a 32 ounce, and it's really handy. But any size jar will do. You want something with, if it's got a metal lid, make sure that you're going to be able to get like an airtight or almost airtight seal. A lot of times if you use a glass jar that had a plastic lid, after a while the plastic lids will warp, but these glass jars with the metal lids, as long as they don't get too rusty, they will last for a good long time. So I save these always, but I've had some of these for probably 5 years at least. Next, let's talk about paper. So I've got a plastic covered paper milk jug here. These things are a good size. I've got an egg carton. These are good, not just, you can plant seeds in these, and you can also put these in your compost bin. We will talk about compost later. This is just a wooden skewer. These are all like very handy for all kinds of gardening applications. The next category is foil. I have already showed you guys my foil pans. This one, I already have dirt in it, so I can show you what I'm going to grow into it. But because this one, I had to put holes in the bottom of this, I've got the clear lid on the bottom, and we'll use a different covering for that. And the last category is plastic. So you can use anything from plastic gallon size bottles. You can cut these in half and you can plant in these. Also, plastic sandwich bags. They make a good cover for if you need to seal in some moisture onto something you planted, or if you need to start something with the paper towel method. And I will explain that later. Several different food containers. So yogurt containers, anything that comes in these little plastic containers. These are a good size to start a lot of stuff. And you can, if you're doing herbs can stay in here. You want to save the lids as well, because when you plant in them, you have to put holes in the bottom. So if you save the lids, you can set the container on the lid and you've got a little drip tray so you won't get water all over the place. So those are the 4 categories of things you can plant in. And now I'm going to show you how to, actually first let's check on our beans from yesterday. So these are the peas and beans that I soaked in water from the pantry. I'm just gonna like run the water out and check to see if any of these have sprouted. But whether or not they have sprouted, we're still gonna plant them, just so I can, for demonstration. All right, so I'm putting these on a paper towel. Oh, okay, so some of these beans have popped open. Well, a couple of black beans have, but I don't see any root tails yet. That doesn't mean they're not coming, and it doesn't mean these seeds are not viable. Just means they haven't done anything yet. But we're gonna find out. So, let's see. Can you guys see the little beans? This one, I'll move this one to the front. So if you've ever cooked dry beans before, you know if you soak them, then they tend to split open. What you're looking for is a little root tail to pop out. I was hoping that one of these would do that, but I didn't see any. But I did hear from superstar pupil Melissa that she got some of hers to sprout. So hopefully she'll share some pictures with us of how she's doing with that. Okay, so we know these have sprouted. Let's talk about planting, or these have been soaking. Let's talk about planting in some of these containers. For glass jars like this, I prefer to use these for soaking and rooting out, just like with the plastic cups, because they're clear and they're see-through. Also, you can't put holes in the bottom of this for drainage. You could put something in here to like a little bit of gravel or stones to create a boundary area where you would have for roots. But if you do that, you could very easily overwater it. And then you're gonna like have the roots of the plant be wet, and you don't want that. So that's why I typically do not grow in here. I use these for rooting. Oh wait, I see comments. Let me just check real quick to see if we've got any questions. Okay, no questions yet. I will continue. For like jars like or jugs like this, like I mentioned, you can cut these in half. If you want to cut it like here, put holes in the bottom, put dirt in it, plant your seeds in it. You can use the top and set it back on, and use this as a humidity dome. And you can start plants that are like summer vegetables outside when it's still a little bit cold outside. But this, I have not tried this method. I prefer to grow, I have aero gardens, so I share the lights with the aero gardens, and I grow inside. But something that's this size container, these are 16 ounce and 15 ounce. These size containers are good for starting something like our lettuce from yesterday. You could put that in here when you're first putting it in dirt. You can also, if you've got spring onions can grow in here and actually stay in here. Lettuce will probably do okay in here, but it would prefer a slightly bigger container. You could do cloves of garlic in a container this big. It's going to limit the size, but you can have a bunch of these, just like one clove of garlic and a bunch of these containers. I have dirt in my foil container already. So this one I'm going to plant peas in. This is a good size to get, to plant some peas in, get some pea shoots. So we're going to do that, and we're just going to put them in unsoaked. So I will show you guys how I do that. So I've got my peas from yesterday. Can you guys see this? I'm just spreading them out a little bit over the top of the dirt. I did put holes in the bottom of this. That's why the plastic lid is on the bottom. You don't need a ton, but you want to spread them out evenly. Oops. Where did it go? There we go. And I'm going to put the beans on here and the peas that I soaked as well. That looks like this. Oops. So you can see it's not completely covered, but there's plenty on there. So with this, there's about an inch of soil in the bottom of here. Now I've got my peas across the top. I would put more soil on top. Hold on one second. Let me grab some. And then I would just sprinkle a light coating on top, just enough to cover the beans and peas. Do you guys see my dog? No, he's a little bit too short. He's watching. So you just want them to be covered, but not buried deep. Just smooth that out. This soil mix, this is some cocoa coir with perlite mixed into it, and some potting mix. I just bought whatever they had at Costco, and this is a bag from last year. I mixed the two together because it has better soil retention properties into it. So now you can see, you can see perlite, you cannot see the beans anymore, or the peas anymore. And then I would just water this, and instead of putting this plastic lid back on it because I had to put holes in the bottom, not sure if you can see those. Not really, but I did put holes in the bottom. I would cover this with some plastic wrap until the beans sprout. And I will show you guys pictures of that after. I'm running out of space up here. Oops. Okay. The egg cartons you can grow in as well. And I have pre-filled this with some dirt. You can see you can plant small seeds in here. If you want to try some of the beans or peas in here, you can sprout those in here. You would have to cover it in plastic if you want to create a humidity barrier. But, and then once these sprout, they need to be planted in something bigger or outside. These containers, these aren't really big enough to grow peas or beans, but you can start them. So let's do that. I'm gonna put some more peas into each of the little egg holes. And I'm just, let's see. Can you guys see this? Not really. I'm just putting one pea into each hole and pushing it down enough where I can submerge it and cover it. Let's try to tilt this a little bit more so you guys can see this. Peas, just push in, cover. Push in, cover. Not all the way down, just a little bit. You want the whole pea to be covered, but you don't want it to be deeper than the diameter of the pea. You don't need to go crazy, you just need to cover it. And because this is, when you water this could potentially, the whole thing could get wet. So I would definitely set this on something that's going to be non-porous. So maybe another plastic tray or a foil pan. This would probably, actually, if you wanted to plant in egg crates and then put them outside, one egg crate open all the way would fit perfectly in here. You could plant something on the other side if you wanted to. And then the last thing I'm going to show you guys that you can plant in is this milk carton. I cut the front open and I've got dirt in here. This is a good size container also for the lettuce from yesterday. What am I thinking? Lettuce from yesterday could go in here. Celery could go in here. These would be fine for a little bit, but eventually the celery and the lettuce would need to be up potted if you have two of them in here. But if you had, say, lettuce and a couple spring onions, they would be okay in here. The carrot would start out okay in here, but then the leaves would eventually get big and you would want to up pot it, the carrot from yesterday. Same thing with our lonely little turnip. It would also fit in here. So if you're just getting started, this would be a good way if you can get a little bit of dirt, but not a lot, or not a lot of containers. Start them in the house, and then when they get a little bit bigger, move them outside. Now, questions. Let's see if we have any questions. I hope that wasn't too fast. No questions? Okay. Well, then I hope that was helpful and informative for you guys. And I will see you tomorrow, and we will talk about scavenging the rest of your house for bigger containers that you can up pot your stuff into. That's it. Have a good night. Bye.